What's up, everybody? Joe Brown here. This is the Heresy Financial Show, and I've got a question for you. Why is big money still buying big real estate? Just last month, we saw a Goldman Sachs-backed fund bought an entire community of 87 single-family homes in Central Florida. And so either big money is big stupid right now, or they know something that most Americans do not. So this is a real estate update video. Let's dive in. All right, so for the last two and a half years, we have seen month after month after month, continually large money, hedge funds, institutions, massive companies, not only buying up apartment complexes and multifamily housing, but now for the first time really ever, because it wasn't happening 10, 15, 20, 30 years ago, single family homes. It is happening all over the nation. And just last month, a Goldman Sachs backed fund bought 87 single family homes in Central Florida. They bought an entire community. This community was Cypress Bay. It was built by D.R. Horton. It was completed in February, and it was purchased as a joint venture between Fundrise and the Growth E-REIT for approximately $46 million. Now, the reason why I asked this question about why they are still buying up homes is because most Americans view now as the worst time in their lifetimes to buy a home. Now, it's possible that all this big money buying up single family homes all across the nation are doing it, number one, out of stupidity. And they're about to have to liquidate all these homes, sell them to anybody who will be a buyer of them, and we're going to have a massive flood of inventory hit the market. And they were not thinking ahead, and they were thinking, hey, maybe we'll just buy them and flip them. Maybe we'll just buy them and somebody else will buy them from us for more in a little bit of time. I don't think that's a very likely case. Most of the time, these funds are buying these homes forever. They are buying them as a block of homes, and they will rent them out to people forever. Now, what happens if they ever want to exit real estate? They're going to sell an entire block like this, 87 homes, to another institution, because they're not going to sit there and go through the process selling each individual home to an individual buyer. No, they're going to sell their entire portfolio to another institution that wants a large portfolio of rental properties. And so they're not making these plays for a year, for 5 years, for 10 years. They're making these plays for much longer than that. And they've been doing this for a couple of years now, buying these homes, which means that in all likelihood, they're not seeing a big real estate crash around the corner. Now, I recently made a video about housing prices probably dipping throughout the rest of this year. I still think that's probably the case. But if they were buying these homes when they were cheaper before 6 months ago, a year ago, and house prices start to dip back to that, down to that level, they're going to be buying them again. Now, you're probably thinking, well, what about interest rates going up? They're not using regular mortgages. They're not paying 5%, 6%. They're paying 1%. This is big boy money. They're coming to play. They get cheap money. They get the easiest credit. They're buying this, and those interest rates that you and I are paying for houses, they don't have to worry about. So I'd like to take a look at a different position from George Gammon. He recently made a video about real estate, and he made this tweet about it as well, and he shows this chart. Interest rates, population, real building costs, and real home prices. So the word real means adjusted for inflation, which is important that it says real because we want to make sure that we're looking at inflation adjusted. So take a look back at the chart again, and we can see that interest rates have been going down. And this goes back to 1890, so this is a long-term chart here. Interest rates moving down to historical lows. Population has continued to increase, but real building costs have continued to increase, and real home prices have continued to increase. Now, what are prices? Prices are just information about how scarce something is relative to everything else. And so we have to take a look at this and say, why are prices going up? Is it a massive bubble? Does everybody have 3, 4 empty homes like they did 12 years ago? Or is this potentially a sign of real scarcity in housing? I'm glad he puts the population in here. I'm going to look at the United States population on this chart here. 334, almost 335 million right now. We see it has just been steadily growing for a very long time. However, when we look at new privately owned housing units completed, and this is total units, so we could also look at just single family homes, but total units includes apartments as well, which is important. You want to get the whole picture, not just a part of the picture. We can see that from 2006 through 2011, completed housing units fell off of a cliff. They had never been as low as they got after 2008. Housing completions fell off of a cliff. We had essentially a lost decade here, where for pretty much almost a decade here, completions of housing, the number of houses that were being built, was lower than they had ever been since the 60s here, below 1,000, that line. And housing completions have been going back up, but they're just now getting into the normal range. This means that while population continued to grow, the number of places for that population to live did not keep pace. That is the main driver. It is demographics. More people want a place to live than there are places to live. That's why Goldman Sachs and massive hedge funds and big money are still buying regardless of prices, because it's a scarcity issue. And they know everybody's got to have somewhere to live. So do I think there will be opportunities to buy a small price dip in real estate over the next couple of months? I do. I think prices will come down somewhat. I'm seeing prices drop literally every day. I look at real estate almost every single day, and I'm seeing more and more price drops than I've seen in years. It's happening. But we're also, just like we had discouraged buyers coming out of the market, we're going to start seeing discouraged sellers. Because a seller who still has a job, so they're not being forced out, they're looking and they're saying, okay, if I want to sell, take advantage of my equity, and move somewhere else, I need to buy a house for this price in order to be able to make that move worth it. But if they can't sell their house for $700 and they have to drop it to $650 or $600, now they're looking and they're saying, well, that means I can't afford that upgrade. Well, I'm not going to sell anymore. I'm not going to spend more money to live in a worse house. I'm just going to stay in the house I'm at. So we're going to have sellers get discouraged, and homes are going to start coming off the market after they've sat on the market for 2-3 months. They've done a couple price drops and they haven't gotten ahead of it. They haven't sold. They're just going to take their listing down because no reason to sell. They didn't lose their job. They're not being forced out. So I do think we'll see some deals, but I do not see any sort of a massive collapse happening anytime soon. Otherwise, you wouldn't see big money still buying real estate. As always, really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.